Hello, today I'm going to talk about an Irish-based Celtic creation myth. It's a reconstructed myth because the original no longer exists and certainly hasn't been written down without significant alteration by Christian monks from Ireland, but there is enough evidence in terms of tales and information and archaeological information that will help us create this. And then what I'll do once I've told you this myth, I'll compare it with the Norse creation myth and the Proto Indo European creation myth so you can understand how it probably developed. So welcome to the Celtic Irish creation myth and welcome to Creckenford. In the beginning there was the cosmos and it was in chaos and it was alone and so needed company, and it grew in 9 waves. And from these waves, 2 beings were born, Don, a male god, and Danu, a female god. And when Don and Danu saw each other, they embraced so tightly that nothing could separate them. They were as one, a man and a woman together. And as time moved on, Danu became pregnant with many children, 3 of which were considered stronger than the others. And those 3 sons stood out, and their names were Rea, Luca, and Lucoba. But when they were born, the tight embrace of Don and Danu wouldn't allow the children to leave their mother. And so Rea slayed his father by cutting him into 3 pieces of 3 with his sword. And as Don lay dead, Danu cried and cried and cried so much that she swept away all of her children in the flood of tears. And her 3 sons were then known as the landless princes, and are often called the Fothere of the sea. Now, Danu's tears also washed away the body parts of Don, and those body parts became the world. His head the sky, his brain the clouds, his face the sun, his mind the moon, his bones were stones, his breath was the wind, and his flesh fell to the ground as soil, and his blood made the seas. Now his genitals became seeds, 2 seeds, one containing Don, and when that was seen by Danu, she cried again, and her tears made that seed grow into a huge tree known as Yochi, and it grew tall, its branches trying to reach Danu to wipe away her tears. And from the other seed grew a man, a kingly priest figure who would be known as Finn, the brother of Don. Now, as Danu watched Yochi grow, she saw fruit grow on its branches, and that fruit turned into the first humans. And mostly humans did nothing, they just laid around waiting for time to pass, although some did go on into history as legends. But it upset the gods to see people having no real purpose, no need to do anything. There was no realm of death for them to die and go to. And this isn't what the gods wanted. And Finn thought about what they could do. And he thought some more, and then he came up with the idea that they should kill Don again, and with his pieces make a place for the dead from the parts of Yochi. Now, Don really wasn't keen on this idea, and so with his sword he reached out with his branches and stabbed Finn, killing him. Finn's death made Don overcome with grief, and he burst apart, but the roots of his tree stayed in the soil, and they grew down and grew and formed an underworld where humans could go when they died. And thus Don became the god of the underworld, and the undead Finn now chases down humans with his dogs to take them there. And that is the story of the Irish Celtic creation myth. Now this myth has many similarities to the Norse and Proto Indo European creation myths. First, the cosmos being empty and forming 2 beings. So in the Norse myth you have Ymir and a cow. In the Proto Indo European myth you have Ymo and Manu and also a cow. And whilst there isn't a cow in the creation myth of the Celts, the name Danu is actually linked to Boan, and Boan is the cow goddess. So in the form of Danu, there is some representation of the understanding that a cow is important. And when Danu and Don join together, they in effect become one, much as Ymir is in the Norse myth. Ymir is neither man nor woman, but both. In the Proto Indo European myth, Manu just kills Emo, his twin, but Emo and Ymir, as I've shown in other videos, which I'll link, are the same. So you've got this cosmos created, these beings there, and then children are born. So whilst that isn't mentioned directly in the Proto Indo European myth I've talked about in the past, it is mentioned in the Norse Creation Myth. In the Norse Creation Myth you get Odin, Vili and Vi, who kill Ymir and from his body parts create the world, much as you get Ur killing Don, and the tears of Danu washes his body parts away to form the world. And the children being washed away, again, whilst it isn't mentioned in the Norse Creation Myth or the Proto Indo European Creation Myth, it is something, a motif that has happened in other myths, such as the Greek myth about being sent to the sea as a punishment for killing your father. And we've also talked about the nines. The 9 waves of 9 is an important number in mythology, especially Norse mythology. So you've got the core myth is very similar, and you've got this tree. So some may think, the Yggdrasil, that must be the same as Yoki from the Celtic myth. But actually Yoki is more cognate with Dagtha, or Dagda, as we would say in English. And so they're related as being key major gods within the Celtic mythology. And so that shows you a good link on how all these myths are related. How that story made its way into Ireland, well, there are many ways, but more than likely a significant part of that would have come from about 2,000 years ago, maybe slightly earlier, when the Teutons and the Celts were close to each other in Europe, as noted in Tacitus's work. And some of those Celts went down through Spain and into Ireland, and we know this through genetic tracing. And then when we know that they had a snake motif, for example, so the Celts from Europe went into Spain, developed a snake motif as part of their worship, and so when they went into Ireland, that's why Christian monks banished snakes from Ireland. They weren't banishing the reptile, they were banishing the pagans who used the snake motif as a representation of their Celtic religion. So to me, I believe that's probably a good general overview of the Irish Celtic creation myth, how it came to be and how it is linked to the other myths. It isn't a topic I usually talk about, but if you want me to talk more about the Celtic myths or the Welsh and Scottish myths alongside the Irish ones, please let me know and I'll do that. Just mention something in the comments below. So until the next video, please stay safe, stay well, and this was Crackenford.